All right, YouTube, welcome back to Inside the YouTube Studio. Today, once again, we have a special day. We have a special guest. Another fellow Canadian has been so kind to join us, and I'm pretty excited to get to know him a little bit better, find out a little bit more about his channel, how it came to be, and where it's going. So without further ado, I'd like to bring in Travis from TM Nerdy. Here we go. Travis, welcome.
Station. Thank you so much for having me, man.
Of course, man. Thank you for taking the time to be on. I appreciate it. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm good. Just, busy with everything. Like we were talking backstage, trying to fit in like everything in life, trying to fit in the whole comic thing. So it's a balance. How do you do that? Like, do you have like a set schedule, or just play it by ear?
I used to just kind of sporadically do it, but like I found that was getting really tiresome and trying to juggle everything in between. So like now with like my stapled show, Chatting with the Comic Community, I always have a set day that I usually do it, and I always set it like well in advance. Like I have like the next 5 weeks of people like already up and uploaded onto my channel.
Oh wow.
And then I've already had like 5 weeks prior to that like set up for people in the future. So I'm set for the next 5 months on my YouTube channel. I just want to keep staying ahead, and that gives me the time to jump on other people's channels and have fun. Like, because as much as my channel is like a comic channel, like I look at more of it as a community channel, because like I love talking with the community. Even with my top 5 indie comics, I always like take a moment to shout out a community member in that video as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I know there's a few other channels that like to do that to give awareness, because some channels just they don't get the spotlight, they don't get some love. So it's nice to bring that to some of them. While we're here about your channel, what I usually like to do is find out where your channel is right now. Like just give the viewers like a little bit of lay of the land of what you have in terms of shows or what you have coming up. We'll get into, but just where the TM Nerdy is right now.
Right now, I have my staple show, like I said, Chatting with the Comic Community. We're at this point we're up to like episode 44.
Wow, that's awesome.
So it's been a long journey on doing that. And it all started randomly too, just because like I was talking to this person in this community that I was fascinated by, and I wanted to talk to him a little bit more, and that's Bobby Delgado. And he's the big reason why I spawned that. I was like, oh wow, I really enjoyed chatting with him. I want to keep this going, and now we're up to like episode 44, and I'm gonna continue to go.
That's awesome. So you have that, is it weekly, or is it just is there a structure to that?
Yeah, it's every week, every Wednesday, 3 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. my time, because I'm in Atlantic time zone.
Right, yeah. So that's just the one show that you have scheduled, and then you have...
I do have another show. It's called My Top 5 Indie Comic Books. Coming out, and it always drops. It's a new show that I've been doing, and it drops every Friday. Mm-hmm. Friday around pretty sure 3 p.m., 4 p.m. Eastern, maybe.
Cool. And
it's just new in that. It's just, I give people my top 5 indie comic books, my preferences, and who knows, maybe somebody might pick up and be like, oh, I never heard that book before, I'm going to go pick it up. So I like to give a lot of indie love.
Okay.
As much as I can. And upcoming on my show, I will be doing a couple of Kickstarter unboxings. So like I do back a lot of Kickstarters. Like I said, I love to support indie comics and indie creators. So I'll be just kind of doing a mystery type of like what's in this box, and like show everybody what I got and what they give you for stretch goals. Because like I think there's a box coming, and it has at least 15 things in it, and I spent $20 on that Kickstarter. And it's just the amount of stretch goals that you get.
Stretch goals. So that's to explain to the audience. So like when a Kickstarter, especially a comic, they'll give you different tiers to get into. That's my understanding, right?
Yeah, so like they have like their main goal, like to get it fully funded, and then
Right.
they have like if they reach this amount of money or if they reach
Right.
this amount of people who backed it,
Mhm.
they give you a stretch goal, which sometimes it's cards, sometimes it's figures, sometimes it's posters. You can get a lot of stuff because I know with Spider Squirrel issue number 1,
Mhm.
I got at least 15 prints
Oh,
in
wow.
that Kickstarter as well. So
That's
you,
amazing.
you can get a ton more things into Kickstarter, and that's well worth your money. And plus, you're also backing somebody and backing
Right.
somebody's idea to make a great story.
Right. I did. I should have the creator's name eludes me, but Zombie Date Night, I think it was. I saw him on Comic Kingpins. They did a spotlight on him. I backed it. It's a great comic. I think he's doing another one now. I think it's called. It's about a robot Santa, Ex Machina or something. It's really cool. I'll send you, if you're not familiar with it, I'll send you a link. It's pretty cool. He's a very talented creator, writer, and he teams up with artists to create this books. But he's on Kickstarter, so I appreciate that kind of that creativity and support it as well. Why indie books only? Is it just because? Did you see like a little niche, and because everybody else was maybe doing like Marvel or DC in terms of spotlight?
I've been okay. I don't read a lot of Marvel. Like I do collect
Okay.
like Marvel what ifs and stuff. I am a huge DC lover though. I love my DC EU. I love my CW shows. But I've kind of fallen off of reading DC as well, in that I've been falling in love with reading a lot more indies lately.
Okay.
It's just the story structure. They're their own stories, and that they're not tying in. They're not doing these huge events where you have to pick up this many books to follow along with the story.
Right.
So I just find it's easier to pick up these books, and plus they're their own stories. Like these creators can write what they want. They don't have anybody in the background being like, no, you can't do this. This is the way we have to treat this character, and that no, these are there's no ropes on them. They can do freely what they want. So especially with Kickstarters, these are people trying to get their stories out.
Yeah.
So that's what I can respect in that. And these guys are, you never know who's going to write a good story or not. So it's best to just give it a try.
Of course. Yeah, I'm a big fan of so many stuff. I mean, like a fan of some of the Black series that DC puts out. So I do appreciate the indie stuff. I should be into it a little bit more, but there are a couple books that are series that I'm really, really keen on. I think What's the Furthest Place and Radio Apocalypse. I'm pretty hooked on those. So
What's the Furthest Place is
yeah,
fantastic.
It's a great story. I like where it's going. It seems to have like a huge backstory behind it, and that they're just kind of revealing. So I'm excited for that one.
And I think that's from Image, but I think it's from the I forget what his staple is, but Jim Valentino's whole publication with Image. Like, you know how like Mark Silvestri has his Top Cow and
Right.
and that, and like when Rob Liefeld was there, he had Extreme.
Right.
I forget what, I think it's like Shadow something, and it's under that staple over on Image.
So they get the money from Image under their umbrella to produce. It's like, I mean, the quality. Not to mention the story, but I mean the quality of the book itself is really well done. I was gifted one of the LPs of the first run by actually Dracula. It was a nice little gift, so I was pretty stoked for that. I think they're doing another one coming up for the next series. I think the little LP that they have with the
I didn't get that, but that was
it's a great idea.
It was pretty expensive too, but yeah, like I liked the idea. It looked really cool.
I like the idea of incorporating music into the reading experience. I find that pretty interesting. That's why I'm into Radio Apocalypse as well, because I think that the intention to read that is to read it along with a specific music track, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, they did that with We Live as well. They didn't.
Oh,
they?
really?
They had,
Okay.
they like you could download the app and like listen to music while you read the story.
Oh, cool. Nice. Right on. Well, now that we kind of got a little bit the lay of the land, why don't we rewind a little bit? Let's start how TM Nerdy got created. Did you start on just Instagram? Did you start the whole platform together? I mean, YouTube as well? Or?
I started on YouTube. Like, I didn't do a lot of stuff on Instagram. Just kind of when I joined this community, I was in everybody's chats. I was always in Bueller's chats. I was always in Robbie's chats, Pop Culture Philosophers, and then I loved the aspect of like people were always, when I came into this community, they were always like, oh, this is another person who's doing it. So like I remember Bueller was like, oh, this is Hero and the Kid. Whenever he was still doing content, he's now Will the Beast Fitness. Mm-hmm. And then that got me opening up the doors to find out who from Heroes to Icons Jason is, everything comics. It's Bob, Bullseye Bob. Then Comics Will Break Your Heart, Bearded Comic Bro, all of these different channels, and like they're all working together. And I really love that aspect of like how this community was built together. Mm-hmm. And I think there's just, I remember I was talking with Chamorro Cinema as well. Like we were talking like on a regular, and I was watching his channel all the time, always in his chat as well. And I was just like, you know what? I want to be more involved in this community. Like I want to like actually be on screen, talk with some people and that, and see how far I can take this.
Right. And
so I just kind of, without even thinking, just jumped the gun and literally like had no plan whatsoever to do what I was going to do in that, and just did an introduction video. And my whole plan was just to do unboxings.
Okay.
Do unboxing, toy unboxings, card unpackings, and then it just grew from there. Right. I started getting invited onto, like, Chamorro Cinema was the first live I did. Got invited on there, and just I felt the love from this community just because of the love I showed back. Mm-hmm. And I just, you don't find that type of thing throughout any other community. And I love that. Like nobody judges you. Like I was always worried to get into comic books, just for that aspect. Like, oh, people are just gonna be like, oh, you don't know that? Like, why don't you know that? But like people here are just like, oh, you don't know that?
Let me tell
you. Follow me.
Okay.
I'll tell you what this is all about. And they're so welcoming to this community, and that is, and ask questions, people will tell you. And I just love that. So that was a big driving point of me doing my content, is just to be more involved into this community.
I find that because when I've spoken to other content creators who do live shows, we always spend a bit of time on the live chats, because that's so important. I find in developing relationships from the creators to your community that follow you, but also within that chat, those people are creating relationships as well. Because I've made so many friends in just a group chat, which I find that really intriguing. Have you developed anything like from like, it sounds like that's how the channel is created. Have you developed any relationship just purely from the chat, or?
Yeah, like the PCP Army Bad Batch was created just from all of us in the chat together.
Okay.
And how it happened was like, I'd be chatting with everybody in the chat, like Fable, Missing Link, and Big Herm Collectibles. Those were the three, and then Chamorro Cinema was there as well, who he's known Robbie for like 10 years. And then it was just the four of us would always be chatting in the thing, and come to find out that we were all chatting on Instagram, just just with each other. So I was talking to Fable one-on-one, and I was talking to Big Herm one-on-one, and Missing Link one-on-one. We're all doing the same thing. We didn't realize that we all knew each other.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
It was just because we met each other in that chat, and then so we just kind of formed together. Like that's why we're the old PCP Army Bad Batch has grown since then. Like, of course, we got Nick Comic Culture, we got Manny, we got Talkie 616, and then now we got Comics Kings, Brandon. But before that, it was just the four of us, and we weren't all doing content. Like, I think it was just me and Big Herm at the time were doing content on YouTube. And even then, it was like I wasn't doing that much on YouTube. Like I said, I was doing the toy unboxings and the card unpackings, and then I did some community stuff, and that really surprised me of how many community members showed up for lives that I used to do. And then by then, me and Big Herm Collectibles, it was funny how that started too. Like, Big Herm Collectibles started doing a show on doing the Spawn Compendium.
Say that again, sorry.
Yeah, Big Herm Collectibles started doing a show on the Spawn Compendium, like reading through the Spawn Compendium, first to 50 issues.
Yeah, I know you're a big fan of Spawn, correct?
Yes, and we started doing that together. Like, it was just so randomly, like, how shows start happening. Like, it's funny how this community comes together so fast that we just start a show just like that, just by similar taste in things. Because like another show that spawned off just by talking with community members is the Kevin Smith show that we do. Let's Talk Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
And we're going to be rotating it through channels here soon. From, like, it started over on Evil Mike's channel, now it's on Tylox's channel. This next one for Chasing Amy will be over on Raging Cajun's channel. So we're just going to rotate channels and get together. And that all started from just me being on Raging Cajun's channel and us all of a sudden talking about Kevin Smith. And it literally got built from that live. And the live, Evil Mike and Tylox was in the chat at that time. So it got built and got made from that. And that was just, that's how fast shows can be made and connections can be made in this community.
I like that, the spontaneity of YouTube, especially within this community. You're right, because it just seems like a lot of the members try and lift each other up, like, hey man, why don't you try this, or when we work on this. And there's there's a bit of structure to it when you do kind of get rolling with it, but the initial onset of any idea, I love it, because I have a creative background, so I love that spontaneity that you can have. It sounds like your show is, as spontaneous as it can be. You just uploaded your first video. How long ago was that?
It's under a year, I think.
Oh, okay.
I think April. I don't know the exact date, but it's April something that I put out my first video, and that was just my introduction video. It's still up there, you can go back and see it, and it's like literally like 4 minutes, and it's bad quality off my phone and everything. So you could definitely see the progression through the months that I've had, and it's all a learning process. In that, like, it's all about having fun, but like we're learning as we go. Yeah,
for sure. I've like leaned on a few people as well, and they welcome me with open arms, just like with questions. How do you do this, or how do you get set up with that, or do you know this person, I have this idea. Like, it's pretty cool. And going back to what you said, like, everybody, there's no judgment, but everybody wants to help you. Everybody really, like, that's the eagerness that I love about this community, right? So it sounds like that's how the channel was also born, from the support of the community, and it grew pretty quick.
Yeah, it definitely did. Like, the community definitely shows me a lot of love, and I show it back, and that's what it's all about. Like, it's just so, for the longest time, I almost didn't believe it. Like, I was like, I don't think this is real. Like, am I sure this is actually happening? Because, like, I'm like asking people, I'm like, is that me on the screen? Like, am I just imagining this? They're like, no, that's you. You're good.
You're in there.
Yeah, because sometimes it's uncanny to realize how amazing this community is, because you go out in the real world and that you don't have a community that is as nice as this.
No. Why do you think that is?
I have no idea, to be quite honest with you, in that, like, the community has always been here. Like, Bueller's always been here showing love and stuff, but like when COVID hit, a lot of us were inside and stuff. Like, we couldn't go out and see friends and that. So maybe it was like, because like this community is not just about comic books either. We love our TV shows. Like, it may be comic related TV shows and comic related movies, but there's a vast reason why a lot of us are in this community, and are drawn to this community, and it's just a way to talk about nerdy things. Because maybe on everyday life, like I know I go to work and that I barely talk about anything comic related, and that like if I did, they'd probably raise their eyebrow. So it's just it's a whole new feeling. Like is all of these things that you've had to suppress that you're not allowed to talk. I wouldn't say not allowed to talk to, but can't talk about and share because you come across annoying or like, oh, listen to that nerd. And now this is just a way for nerds to get together and talk. And like it seems like we've had so much to talk about for so long, and now it's just great to talk to everybody else that has that similarities. Because like I've never talked to so many people about certain things, about Spawn or about Kevin Smith or about certain things, cartoons. Me and Roscoe love talking about cartoons. And I've never had these conversations with anybody in my life. It's so cool because it's a wide vast, because like you and I are in Canada, but we've talked to people that are in Australia. We've talked to people that are in the United States, and it's just great. You will find somebody that has similarities to you and common interests. And it's just, I guess that's the best way to explain why this is the best community and why it's so welcoming. It's because a lot of people just have the urge to talk about everything nerdy.
Yeah, I think we all share. I think there's a couple things. I think we all share, whether it's comic book, like, I mean, we're all interested in comics, but you know, that leads us into anything else. That's why the MCU is so popular. That's why, you know, these TV shows are so popular, because they're associated with comics, right? That at their core, like, it's, you have to say it's comic related. But in our interest to them, I think we found that commonality between others. And when you're like, oh man, this guy's into this, let's go hang out together. This guy's into this, let's go hang out together. And also I think that you did bring up another great point, was a worldwide phenomenon that we just all experienced. Like, we all experienced the exact same thing. We were all forced to do a thing that is historic, and we shuttered ourselves inside, and we found each other in that. I don't think that this community would have grown to what it is if that hadn't happened. I feel that in us isolating ourselves, we found this massive community out there, right? Do you agree with that? Or
I agree with that. And plus, also, like, you come into this community is built on like talking to others about certain things that they love. So like, you go to other YouTube channels, they're more about telling you what they think and not really care what others think. Right. I'm not going to mention like what community that is, but like in this community, it's all about togetherness, to chatting with, like, because if you go to any stream in the comic community, it's all about like, it's either helping each other figure out the books of the whatever you do, like speculate on or talk about what you're reading,
right? And
that it's all about togetherness. It's all about talking about your similarities, talking about what you love about the book, and not a lot of communities do that. So that's probably why there's a lot more love in this community, because it's more about chatting with each other rather than chatting against each other.
Yeah, I'm a big cyclist, and I would consider that a mountain biker. I would consider that a community, and my friends, we share that. But within that community, there's no inclusivity at all like this. And I agree with you that there's no other, like, I mean, maybe there is, like, I don't know, maybe there's another, people collect coins, knives, whatever it is. Maybe there is a community that is inclusive. I don't think so, but I do appreciate the love that I feel every time that I show up to a chat, that I join, you know, a live stream or do a video, or just chat on social media. It's awesome. I think also there's an important point about showing up and being present, right? You get included when you show up and be present in those chats, in social media and everywhere else, because people see that, and they see that you're constantly hanging out, and they're like, you know what, let's bring this guy in further, let's bring this person in further, let's bring this girl in further. And I think that, you know, that just cascades into other things.
I agree. I love being in other chats. Like, I know I've taken a dip from being in so many live chats, but that's just because life happens.
Yeah.
And if I could be in every single one, I definitely would be, because it's so much fun talking with everybody in the chat while you're watching people on the chat. And that was the first time I ever felt included, especially like even before I started doing YouTube and that, having them have conversation, like talking to you, like showing your name up on the screen and like saying like, oh, that's a good point. I went by Trav Murray at the time, like in chats and stuff before my channel. And it just always felt good to like be noticed for once too. Like, cause like you feel like a speck in this world, and you feel like your words don't matter. And then obviously you come into this community and people are like highlighting your voice, and it feels good to actually have a voice. Like I remember like,
that's great.
I did get really emotional when I first came into this community, because like I was like, so like it felt so good. Like I was like, oh my God, like they like it, for once somebody has noticed, somebody has talked to me and that about certain things. And that, like I said, in the real world, sometimes people don't care about what you're talking about, or being
most times they don't.
Yeah. So it was really, really touching the first time I came into this community. That's why I've given so much back to the community, because like they've built me up. They're the real reason why I have a channel, and why I try to give as much back to the community as I can.
Like, I mean, I don't think, well, I guess when you do understand what's the mechanics of everything, a lot of people who are creating this content are not getting paid for it. Like, majority of them have all had the same story. We all started about a year and a half ago, or a couple of years ago, right? And it's just something fun to do. It's just an outlet, and giving back to the community. Like, we all have full-time jobs. We all do other things to make, you know, life happen. And I think that the love for that is shines through each and every time. When you jump on somebody's stream, you watch somebody's video, you know, majority of the time they're not getting paid to do something like this. They're just doing it for the love of either the community, or a particular book, a particular artist, or something like that. So that really shines through. I really those words you just said, like those, you know, that's an awesome way to look at it and hear that story.
Yes. And then earlier on in my YouTube creating thing, I took a break from it, but I did do a lot of creator interviews when I first started off as well. And I was able to get some really cool people on my channel and talk with them. And it was really fun to chat with them. It's surprising that I just want to make it clear right here that reach out. If you want to talk to a content creator or like a comic creator, reach out, because 9 times out of 10 they'll say yes. When I asked people, I did not think that would happen. I remember when I was just like, I was chatting with the Bad Batch, and they were like, oh, you should message some creators and that. And I was like, oh yeah, like they'll say yes. Like, look, and me joking around and that, thinking they'll say no and stuff, and thinking that that'll be the worst thing. I messaged like 5 people, and I was like, oh yeah, they're not gonna say yes and stuff. They said yes. All like 4 out of the 5 said yes, and I was like, oh crap! Like you think no is the worst thing? No, yes is the worst thing. Now you got to actually do something about it. So that's how I got.
That's interesting. Yeah.
I actually talked with Trish Forstner.
Oh, nice. Like, she's awesome.
Yeah, she's the best. It was like issue 2, like just dropped for Stray Dogs when I had her on. Like, so it was earlier on, before like the book even blew up. I had Alfred Page on my channel, the writer for Blowtorch from Second Sight Publishing, and it's great to talk to these creators and that, because they just love comic books. And I know Trish Forstner, when I chatted with her, she was like, she said she hated the whole no Comic Cons and that, because she wants to get out, she wants to talk with people in this community and that, and it's really cool to see that the comic creators are actually loving this community as well. So
I think they got into it because of the love of the community. Like, I mean, you're not an artist, you're not a writer for comics because because you're just in for a paycheck. You do it for the love of it, right? I think, and I see it, like, I mean, specifically, or especially Trish. Like, I mean, I've seen her and Tony in interviews, and yeah, man, those two really love comics. So that's awesome that she jumped on with you.
Yeah, and it's funny to see, like, her. I think that was her first book that she did. It wasn't the first book that got released, but it was the first book she did. And then later on,
she was an artist. She had done some work like with, like, I think My Little
Pony.
Yeah.
But the thing is, my understanding was that the Stray Dogs was.
It's a Transformers of My Little Pony.
Oh, that's so cool. I think it was that she worked on Stray Dogs first.
Mm-hmm.
And it got released later than the next work she did, which was My Little Pony. So Stray Dogs was the first work she did. It just was the second to be released.
Oh, okay. I always thought that her first, like, published work was in My Little Pony. I thought I could.
Technically, yeah, but, like, published work, yes. But first work she worked on was Stray Dogs.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. Cool. Wow. Yeah, I mean, Tony's been doing some great stuff too. Now he's getting some cover work and whatnot. So I'm definitely following the artist life that they're leading. So that's cool. Who else did you said you had two others?
One of them didn't come through. I won't mention his name and that, but because he got really busy at what he was doing. But I had Eric Burnham on as well. Mm-hmm. And he's a big IDW writer, so he's written a lot of stuff from, like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to Ghostbusters, but the one that really stuck with me was Beast Wars. Like, he took my childhood and brought it into comic form and did a fantastic job in it. And if you go back and watch, like, I had so much respect for him for doing that, for bringing my childhood to the comic form. I was so nervous. Like, you could hear it in my voice, and that is so shaky during that interview. But it was just fantastic to chat with him. He just had a book came out not too long ago, G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
So he did that one, and then I also had Charlie McKelvey. He's the writer of Spider Squirrel. That was a Kickstarter that I backed.
Oh, okay.
And then I also had a few other Kickstarters on. I forget I did promote a Kickstarter called Detonator on their first 3 issues, and that I got sent those and to review them, and then I ended up backing the Kickstarter anyway because I enjoyed the story, and it was all about this superhero who was living a life, and it just goes to show you that superheroes can have PTSD as well.
Oh,
and it was going through that, and I love the subject matter of it and how it was highlighting something as serious as PTSD. So I was like, oh man, I'm definitely backing this.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Interesting. I have a question for you with regards to, because a lot of your stuff you do is pre-recorded, right? How do you tackle the whole aspect of editing? Because for some people it's really a bit of a beast, and some people really enjoy it. For me, I enjoy it. I find it therapeutic. I just sit there and I finagle with stuff and bring it together and make sense. How do you handle it? How do you tackle that? Is it hard, or?
A lot of my stuff I don't really edit except my top 5 indie comic books video, and that is not even really good editing. Okay. So I'm not that good at editing. I'm still trying to figure it out as much as I can.
Sure.
I'm more of a present guy, like, let's talk about things and stuff. And I know I do pre-recorded for my chatting with the comic community, but that's just so I don't fall behind. And I always have a video out every Wednesday, but it plays like a live. So I don't touch it. I don't do any editing. I have my intro music with the PCP Army Bad Batch, and then I create a little bit of a video, but to, like, introduce my guests. But
right.
I don't do a lot of work to that. I take their logo, I add it to another video, and that it's pretty easy to do that. But to get into like the editing that a lot of people do and like do freaking fantastic, I look at them, I'm like, I don't know how you guys do that. I can't figure it out, but I'm still learning on the editing part.
I think a lot of people, I'm learning as well, but I find it like, again, I have a creative background. I find that part, that process, part of the creativity of it. Because you're sometimes I'll leave it alone, but sometimes I'll just, I'll kind of mess with it a little bit just to make it flow a little bit smoother. But I was just curious if you had any sort of approach with your specific recorded videos.
And plus, like, I do all my editing on my phone.
Oh, okay.
Like right now I'm on a Chromebook with like a camera, and then I got a mic here and stuff, but I don't do any editing on this part. So it's all on like a small phone, and I'm all trying to edit it. So maybe once I get like a laptop and get better equipment, maybe
it's a little bit easier.
A little bit different.
Yeah, it definitely gets easier when you start using like a proper program and you got the setup. Yeah, it goes pretty quick. I've tried to edit on my phone, and I just throw my phone. I can't do it. I tried, but I think I tried InShot.
That's what I've been doing.
Yeah,
using InShot, and like even at that point, sometimes I screw up my videos. Like my top 5 indie comic books. That's like my first like forte into editing a little bit, and then like if you see some of them at the corner of the screen here, I missed a spot, and you can see the background of it. Because like I have a photo over top of the video of me talking about the comic book.
I see what you mean, right? Yeah.
And then you could see the little bit on the side there. I'm like, oh no, it's like it's already uploaded. I can't go back. And, like people have already commented. I was like, I'll just leave it up there and stuff. Still learning. Like
I think most people don't care.
Yeah, I'm hoping. It dreads me to this day. I'm still like, it's still there.
I sometimes do the same thing. Like I'll upload it, and then I'm like, I think I forgot to do something. Like, or you like take care of something. Yeah, sometimes I've had that happen. Do you not use StreamYard? You must use StreamYard for like recording.
Yeah, I use StreamYard and upload like I said, like I have all of my stuff for like chatting with the comic community. I do it all there. I don't add anything afterwards. Like the whole intro video is in the slot. I hit it, I go, I introduce my next guest, and then I hit the video to introduce them, and then at the end I have a little video that plays as well.
Oh, okay, cool, nice. I'm working up to a little creating like an intro video for all that stuff, but I just do it in post edit now. So, but we all are working on our material, right? Or everybody's again the same story. We all started a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, which is something we all kind of share together in terms of evolving in YouTube. Like, I mean, we have, the big boys who have been at it for a while, and you can see, right? You can see the quality, you can see the audience, everything. Like, I look up to those guys, and they're inspirational, or people, and they're inspirational. So, is there anybody you look up to or have taken inspiration from?
Definitely Bueller and Bullseye Bob the most, and then a little bit of Rock and Robbie. Like I want to like become more. I'm not that good with words a lot of the time, and that so I take a lot of inspiration from Robbie in that aspect because he's well versed, and it makes me want to be more well versed in different types of words and try to expand my vocabulary a little bit more.
Sure.
And then Bueller, he's just goes to show you that the hard work does pay off. You can make all of your dreams come true, because like even though like a lot of us aren't here to like make this a whole job thing,
right?
It just goes to show you that guy pushed and persevered into like making something for himself. This is what he wanted to do. This is how far he pushed it. Now he has a Bueller bus, and now he is sponsored around the world for Whatnot, and has so many different sponsors. He's able to go and meet all of his fans and chat with them and like meet them person to person. And this is like a goal that he has had for a while, And it just goes to show you, if you keep pushing and you say you're going to make this happen, it's going to happen. And then Bob is a whole different person, whole different reason. I won't get into why I look up to him, but there's specific reasons why I look up to Bullseye Bob the way I do. And he's just a lovable guy as well.
Yeah, that's awesome that everybody has the people they look up to as mentors. Like, I mean, I have them as well. I think it's important to have that sort of inspiration, to have those goalposts set, and then see people achieve them, and then you're like, okay, I want to get here, I want to get there, I want to get better at this, I want to try this, right? In your own way. Like, I mean, everybody's doing their own little spin on something, which is cool. Not a lot of people are repeating stuff, which is also very cool, because, you know, we have that sense, like, you know, this audience is for that, and this audience gets drawn towards that. Where do you see your audience right now? Do you have a vision of what your audience is, like who watches you?
I do. Like, I've been, like, I know, like, when my Chatting with the Comic Community drops, it's at a weird time, and I do premiere it. So I know a lot of people are at work. It's on Wednesday, so who knows what they're doing. But a lot of people comment, and a lot of people keep in contact in the comments and stuff. And I see regular people in my chats that I don't even see on Instagram. So they found me through YouTube and that. So, like, or from other YouTube platforms. Like, I want to, like, say Beefit. Beefit's one that just came into it. Oddball Comics is another one. There's a lot of people that, if you go into my comments, you see a ton of people commenting, and they're people that are on a regular. So I do respect those people. It's really cool to see what their top 5 comics are. Maybe not be indie. I also want to shout out Chop and Drop, who's been messaging me and commenting in my chats, like, since day one. I do see a lot of changes. You see people fall off of watching your show, or you don't see them for a while, but who knows? Just because people aren't in your lives or in your premieres or commenting doesn't mean they're not watching.
Right.
Because like, let's say I have 30 comments, but I have like 100 views.
Right.
Well, where, like, there's other people commenting, or maybe they just don't have the time to comment. So I don't judge them on that. But it's always cool to see their comments in the chat and chat with them. Like, even to have, like, a conversation with them in the chat. But a lot of the times we switch over to Instagram, and we just talk personally on Instagram. I've been doing that a lot lately.
Yeah, I think that's you can really foster relationships further on that platform as well. Like, I mean, in terms of, like, you know, getting your group chats together, or, you know, being a little bit more intimate with some people that are in the community, and sharing things and you know, your ideas or books that you're after and stuff like that. So it can be also time consuming as well.
I know a lot of people that just kind of spend a lot of time on Instagram just liking everything that anybody posts, and you can see a lot of that, because then they're liking something, and you're like, why do they like that? Oh, it's tagged to that, and that's probably why. And they're not really looking at what they're liking. They're just liking everything on there,
right?
Just to make it seem like they're
and that's going back to what I said in terms of showing up. Like, I mean, in showing up, I mean, being present in reading somebody's, because people take time to whether it's a breakdown of a book or a new idea or something. Like, I think some people just kind of like, oh, click, you know, just kind of like scroll by. But it's the same thing when joining, you know, a live stream or joining a premiere. Like, I mean, it's being present and seeing what's being presented to you, and it's important, right? It's like listening. It's like, you know, sitting down with a friend and listening to what they have to say. That's what I meant by being present. So that what you just said, kind of like, you know, people are busy and they still want to participate. So, you know, it is what it is.
Exactly. And then go back to you on like the editing part. Like
Okay.
once I do go back, like get better, a little bit better at editing, I do plan because like I love television. I'm a big TV guru. I love like not even comic related TV shows. Like I do love just random TV shows. I love talking about them, but
Okay.
I do kind of want to talk a little bit more about them and maybe do an episode on something, but I want to get better at editing to make it visually intriguing to people watching, but also just to be able to talk about it and feel free to talk about it. Because like I love talking about, I don't know if you've watched Archive 81 or Severance that's out now, and that those shows are just fantastic. So it's just all about having this platform to talk about what we love. Because I don't get my comics right on time. Like it's usually I order my comics, so it's like I buy my comics on a weekly basis, and I like 3 weeks in, I get them to ship it to me. So
you don't go to shop and pick them up.
Yeah, so that's the downfall. That's why you don't see a lot of reviews on comic books and that. So like I think if I can do TV show reviews, that would be good for me.
Interesting. So you don't have usually like I mean I wanted to get to know more about you, but like I'm just curious, like you don't your collecting method. So it's all online?
Yeah, I order all my comics online.
Oh, okay.
And then I do utilize my library as well and pick up a lot of trade paperbacks and go back and read a lot of trade paperbacks as well.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. I know a lot of people are into those trade paperbacks. Like it's a big thing, but I don't think I could ever collect trade paperbacks. They're monsters, man. Like I just have no room for them. But
that's why I utilize my library. That's the best thing to do if you want to like actually read comics and get caught up on some series that you haven't read before. Go to the library.
Yeah, I just got the whole thing, just power right through it, and you're caught up and you're like, thanks. That's cool. So I'm part of this is to also get a sense of where Travis wants to go with TN. Like, where do you want to take the channel? You've mentioned a few little tidbits here and there, but do you have a specific vision in mind, a goal? Like you mentioned that you wanted to do shows about, TV, about different, I guess, media.
Where I want to go, like chatting with the comic community, like people are always like, oh, well, aren't you running up to like so many guests now? Like you're gonna run out of people. There is so many more people in this community that I want to talk to. Yeah. Like you included in that. Like you get introduced to people in this community on a daily basis. Some people that you've never met before, and then you just start randomly talking to. And it doesn't matter who you are. I'm eventually going to contact you and ask you to talk with me about it, about everything chatting with the comic community has to offer. We don't just talk comics, we talk movies, TV shows, everything nerdy. It's just who you are and how you got into collecting comics, how you got into being a nerd, what cartoons and stuff, just to get to know you a little bit more. And I will always continue to do that. I could see myself going up to at least 200 episodes on chatting with the comic community.
Oh, there's and more. Like, I mean, there's so many people, and more people are keep coming into the community. So it's just going to keep growing. So I don't think you're going to be stopping that.
No, and then I'll still do my top 10 indie comics. I'll continue that, but I like to do a lot of things on other people's channels, and like as much as like we're a lot of us want to grow our channels and like get high in numbers and stuff. Like I have my shows that I do. I have my 2 shows. If I can go over to other people's shows and do lives and that and go hang out, like I love hanging out with Spine Tick's crew.
Yeah, they're great, right?
And then like I said, we do that whole Let's Talk Kevin Smith, and we rotate through our channels and that, and it's just us talking about what we love. So like I've gotten to the point where I have done everything I wanted to do in this community, like, cause like I'm set for my show. Like, of course, I'm gonna do that TV segment in the future here, but I'm also gonna be like on Moonlit Comics channel talking every week with her about Moon Knight whenever that drops. So there's my TV thing there. So it's like I can do all this stuff on my channel, but I can also go on other people's channel and talk about it as well. So that's the fun thing about this community is like we don't have to be like, oh, I want to do it on my channel because like I want the views, I want this and that.
Right.
No, just go have fun. And the next step for me in this channel is like what Bueller is doing is like going cross country. Like I eventually want to like my first step is like make it over to where Neighbor of the North is over in Nova Scotia, meet him and just eventually go over meet you and Drac and that like that's my next step for what I want to do. I know it's not in my channel, but it'll probably be a video on my channel eventually.
Yeah, for sure. But that's one of the best parts of this community is actually when you get to meet people in person. It's awesome. Man,
I get so like as much as I love seeing it, like I get so envious of seeing people like meet up and that. I'm like, oh man, like I'm so envious because I want to meet every single one of them.
Yeah, I know, right? We're planning. I think we're meeting up on this Monday with do you know Sandy from Comic Night?
No, but I'll be definitely going to follow them.
Yeah, he does like a YouTube sale every week. He's a retailer, new comics, old stuff, but he started an Instagram. He was actually one of the first people. I'm definitely going to tell him this when I meet him in person. I've never met him in person, but he's one of the first people that I found in this community because he was doing live sales on Instagram, and I was like, and he's got a lot of followers, and I was like, what's this guy doing? So I was like participating in his live sales. I bought a few books because I had a little collection, and then it just like mushroomed from there. It was pretty cool. But we're meeting up on Monday. I think Newbie's coming too. So and Drac. So
that should be fun.
That's to have that as a future goal. Like I mean, I know it's sort of associated with the channel, but it's also part growing in this community is meeting those people. Like I mean, that's part of it. There's going to be some content from it for sure, but that for me, that's an end goal for as part of the channel is to meet all these people that I've made friends with.
Well, and you can look at it this way, like you're adding it as content to your channel to show people, but you're also putting it on there to catalog it. Like this is your viewing experience. Like I can go back 20 years from now and watch like my very first episode chatting with the comic community and see who I chatted with, and like nobody's gonna ever take that away from me. Like I've gained so much, like views aside, like you can view this whole experience on like the views you get, the subscribers you get, or you can view it as like what kind of journey you had, who did you talk to, who have you experienced in this community. And that's what I am so happy to have, because nobody can take that away from me. Like people can stop viewing my content, people can unsubscribe from my channel, but they can't take away that experience that I had with each person that I've chatted with.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it. I agree 100%. I'm not in it for all the likes and all the subscriptions and all that. I just do it for the love of the community, and I do like to meet people and chat about books. I'm really, like, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the channel, I just wanted to learn more about you, right? So that when we do hang out in a chat or do come across each other in social media and be like, I know Travis a little bit better, right? Because all these things that you're saying to me, like, I mean, they definitely resonate with me as well. I find that interesting. I think that people who think alike are drawn together in this community. You can see it. You can see all the groups kind of forming, and you're like, oh, those people think the same. Those people collect the same. You know what I mean? So I find that super fascinating.
Yeah, and like you can always find something like you may not. I know. Just speaking of this one guy, because I just chatted with him. Well, I guess he's more into like Marvel comics and that, but we have a similar interest in like in certain aspects of collecting or reading and that. So like Neighbor of the North likes a little bit of more Marvel than I do, or Big Herm Collectibles likes Marvel to like a T, but him and I have that Spawn friendship that we love. Like we both love Spawn. We both have that time too that we read it. Like I was able to share that experience with reading a comic with him, like sharing that whole 50 issues of Spawn, just chatting with him. So it's really cool to have that, because now that book means so much more to me now that I was able to share it with a friend.
Yeah, for sure.
Share that whole experience.
100%. Now you probably don't know this of me, but one of the books that actually, like, there's a specific book that got me into, like, I need to take care of these things as an not an investment, but like they mean something. But there's one book or one series that got me hooked on comics itself, and it's also Spawn. Like, when I was not a kid, but I was young enough that I was really drawn in to that story, everything McFarlane was doing, the whole toy line, like it just sucked me in. So I do, like, my first collection was Spawn 1, 2. I think I stopped at, I want to say 75, and then just life just kind of got in the way and like branched off into different things. But man, Spawn was my guy in the beginning. He was, yeah, I loved everything about that guy. Yeah,
and he's still long lasting, man. Long lasting.
And I think say what you want about the Todd Father, he's a genius. He's a fantastic artist, but he's a genius. Like, I mean, he's one of the longest lasting comic runs in history.
Yeah, and right? Like I would have to say, like, indie wise, definitely. And coming up behind him would be like another Image founder, Eric Larson, with his Savage Dragon.
Yeah.
And like, I know a lot of people say Eric Larson's kind of gone down, like with his artistic styles and stuff, but you got to understand, he writes, like, Todd is fantastic, but like Eric, he writes and draws still by hand. Like, Eric Larson doesn't do a digital art, but Todd is a businessman. He took he reinvented the way we look at toys today in a way.
Yeah, huge.
Because like, they came to him and were like, these are the toys we're going to do for Spawn. He's like, no, you're not. Like, I can do this better. And that's what he did. Like, he had that whole mentality, like, you know what? I can do this better. And he did. And that's what mentality most people should have. Like, we can all do whatever we put our minds to. And it's cool. Like, if you guys never watched Image Revolution, go watch it. This is why I have such a love for Image Comics. It's just the revolution that they had, that they, even though they've kind of screwed up a lot of things, like for MCU wise and stuff, since Marvel had to sell a lot of their rights after they left. But it's very eye-opening to see what they did, and they changed the whole game for comics today.
They do, yeah, like 100%. But they also brought in new kind of collectors, or new kind of readers, collectors, like me. Like, I was into, certain things, but as soon as I saw Spawn, I was like, what the heck is this? Like, I was like hook, line, and sinker. So and I still have I didn't sell it off. I still have my original collection, and I cherish it. I just got my issue 1 and 2 graded. So
nice.
Yeah, but I'm a big fan of Todd. I'm a big fan of his artwork as well. So I collect anything try to collect anything he's done in Marvel as well. Get expensive, but yeah, I'm a big fan. So we share that. And the toys. Like, I mean, I still have all my McFarlane stuff, like Spawn stuff from back then. Like, when was it? When did he start it? The mid 80s or mid 90s? Sorry.
Yeah, like Spawn came out like 94, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Or 90s. And like his toys came out like 97. His figures, like some of his,
the movie, right? Around the time of the movie.
Yeah, like some of his like earlier toys were like.
Yep.
So we got the Violator in that. So I don't have any else near me, but yeah, like that was his earlier run was those toys, and then he continued up. Like, the toys did get better after a few years, like, but that's when he started getting more of the 3D art and that stuff.
Yeah, I have the issue. I think Spawn 2. Was it Spawn 1? Spawn 2. The one that came in the big package with it was like a cape that was cloth, but it was part plastic, part cloth. Do you remember that one? I think it was just like issue Spawn 2.
Yeah.
It was just called Spawn 2.
I don't have any of those ones, and that it's hard. There's certain figures that you can go back and get that are very, like, I use Capcan Comics, and they have a lot of the Spawn figures, and I bought them off of that. But some of the ones like Medieval Spawn and a few other figures, they're really hard to get and really pricey right now, even though they're back in the 97 era.
I bought all he did the Kiss run, the original Kiss run, and I have those too. So it's they're tucked away though. Those are pretty cool. Those are pretty cool. He's I'm a big fan, so we share that. I don't want to keep you much longer, but this is the point where I break out a questionnaire if you're into it, just to learn a little bit more about Travis. So we mentioned in backstage, this show is based on Inside the Actor Studio. It's a show made famous by James Lipton. And at the end of the show, you would ask a questionnaire by French journalist Bernard Pivot. It's just a few questions, and it just to get a little bit to know you just a tiny bit better. So if you're into it, we'll get into the questions. Are you ready?
No, I'm ready.
All right. So they're pretty simple. What's your favorite word?
Ooh, that's a tough one, actually. What's my favorite word? I would have to say friggin' right.
Say that again?
Friggin' right. Or just friggin', because like I don't swear a lot, but I'm just like friggin' right. Like when I get excited, I'm always like friggin' right, man.
All right. To describe anything.
Pretty much describe, like, most things. I'm just like, somebody says that, like, post something in a chat or something, and it's like, oh man, friggin' right.
With excitement.
No, yeah. It might not show in the chat, but in my head it does.
Okay. That's cool. All right, knowing that, what's your least favorite word?
Moist.
That seems to be, there's I've heard a few people say that, it's not I'm not a big fan of that one. So these questions, the next two, they're not so much literal, it just can be a general thing. I just want to put it out there. So what turns you on?
What turns me on? Freaking... I'm gonna say, just because of recently and that, I'm gonna have to say John Cena.
John Cena?
Just because of Peacemaker. That show just turns me on. Like, actually, you know what? I'm gonna say James Gunn. James Gunn, like anything. If you would have to say like anything that he's coming out with in the near future, I'm on board with. If I see his name, I'll perk right up, both ways. Yeah. So I'd have to say James Gunn.
Did you see the end of Peacemaker?
Oh yeah.
I think he's gonna save DC.
I think they should give him the keys to DC.
Yeah, it's just like you're Kevin Feige. We'll see you later. Take him. Go.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Yeah. So what turns you off?
Turns me off. I would have to say I do like horror, but I'm more of like a thriller type of horror guy, like or kind of like jump scare type thing, but I don't like gore. So gore definitely turns me off. Like any of the Saw movies, I'm not a big fan of, and that I'm not one to watch somebody get brutally disemboweled and that. So I'd have to say gore turns me off.
Okay, so you're not a big fan of that what was it called, Centipede movie?
I never watched it. I won't watch it.
I'm also like, I mean, I like thriller, but I'm not into those kind of like slasher movies. Like I like old ones. Like I'll watch Halloween, I'll watch Friday the 13th because I know it's like it's so like over the top and like You know?
Like I'll watch like Nightmare on Elm Street. Like I love the Nightmare on Elm Street series. I think number 3, the Game Warriors, the Dream Warriors, was one of my favorite ones.
Oh, okay.
But like I don't know if you've ever watched Identity with John Cusack.
No.
No, that's a good way to show you like where my type of horror lies in that. It's more of like a mystery type of thriller type of aspect in that.
Oh, cool.
It makes you like guessing throughout the whole show. Movie.
I like John Cusack, so I'll check that one out for sure. What sound or noise do you love?
Actually, I'm gonna have to say that like the Mando song, the Mando, like the just the opening, that sound is really started. I really started to like that sound, like the whole. I can't imitate it, but like.
Oh yeah, what's his name does the sound for it? Yeah, he's that flute there or whatever that they use.
Yeah, that has become one of my favorite sounds, and especially from like just watching the Book of Boba Fett when he just comes through that whole meat locker type of flaps, and he walks through it, and all he hears that whistle. Like
it's very reminiscent of like an old Western, like Once Upon a Time in the West kind of thing, or some sort of like old Clint Eastwood movie, or John Wayne movie. It's like that a little bit of a new thing on the whistle, like that you would hear that whistle in the old school like Westerns.
Yeah, I really love that sound now. It's freaking amazing. I'm super pumped for The Mandalorian as well. As much as I did not like the Book of Boba Fett, I'm still super pumped for The Mandalorian.
Yeah, same here. I'm a big fan. I didn't mind Book of Boba Fett. It had its moments. I think that they're leading up to something for Boba Fett. I think that's why they showed him in a particular light. Like he wasn't this badass that we all thought he was going to be. He fell down. He got hurt. I think there was a reason for that. I think that's why Mando came in and kind of like took over. I think there's a reason they're doing this, but that's just me. And that's why I don't think people are a fan of it. What sound or noise do you hate?
I'd have to. Any alarm. I hate the sounds of alarms and stuff. I think that goes with anybody though. Like everybody hates kind of waking up early to an alarm that goes off and it's really annoying. But that's the best type of alarm to wake you up and get you out of bed. But it's also the worst thing to hear.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, or like a siren or some sort of like just a ringing bell.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, that one. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
As much as like I wouldn't mind like being like not like a main actor, but just kind of like a stand-in. I wouldn't mind like being on the set of like a TV show or a movie and that, and just kind of being a side character, maybe even having a few lines at that. Because like I did do some like improv and acting and drama like in high school. I also did teach, was co-teacher in like when I was 16. We have a Jubilee Theater.
Yeah. And
there was grade 2ers that came in, and I was co-teaching them how to do improv and that. And at the end of the week, this was during March break, we put on a little play. So that was always, acting was always there, but I was always too shy to do it, and it was always hard to me to pretend to be something I'm not. But like if I have like maybe a 2 or 3 line, or if I'm just a walk-in character, and then I could probably do that.
What show would you want to be on?
I would have to say anything DC related would be cool and stuff, and it'd be so easy to do as well. Like especially here in Canada, just go to Vancouver because they film all of the stuff there.
Yeah.
Like
That's cool.
I'm pretty sure they're filming The Flash there, they're filming Aquaman there, and they filmed Peacemaker there. That's
Oh,
why.
I didn't know that. Oh, they filmed there. Oh, cool.
So it's cheaper to film in Canada. So that really helps with us. The only other show that I would have loved to be on would have been Haven, which was filmed in Nova Scotia, and it was based off of Stephen King's novel The Colorado Kid.
Oh, cool. Nice. They do a lot of filming here in Toronto as well. Um, one of the big ones that they just finished was that, I don't know what it's called, the oh my gosh, Aquaman. What's his name?
Jason Momoa.
Yeah, he was in some sort of like post-apocalyptic movie or something like that. Yeah, it was huge. They filmed it for like 6 months here. They took over like part of it's not Toronto Island, but there's like this little peninsula that they built, and it's like this bird sanctuary. They built like this whole thing. It was like all this like helicopters and stuff everywhere. It was pretty cool.
See, I'd even want to see that because like I've been off of the island. Like I lived in Moncton and I lived in Alberta, but I've never seen any place shut down for like a set and that. So that'd be even really cool to see as well.
Oh yeah, they do it here and all the time in Toronto. Like any and during the summer, like any given week, like a street will be shut down. Like they'll have like the cars and whatever set up. But I think when they did, there was a Will Smith movie a few years ago, and they were doing this huge scene downtown. And it was like cars overturned, smoke everywhere. Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was really cool.
Oh, that would have been really cool to see.
I used to work on, this is a long time ago, there was a show called Nikita. So I used to be on that show. I was like, they called them, I think they were SOCs. So I had a special skill. I was good with guns. So I was part of like the background crew that would run around and shoot guns and stuff like that. So it was kind of fun.
I love Nikita. I watched that show religiously.
With what's her name? But there was the one that was done in the 90s or 2000s. Is it still playing somewhere?
No, Nikita. You're talking about the one with what's his name from A Walk to Remember. Ended up coming into play, but like they had the La Femme Nikita, and it was a blonde, and then they came out with the
that was the show I was on with the blonde. I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I never watched that one. I watched the redid one.
Oh, okay.
That was, I think it was on CW years later, but it was just called Nikita.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this was called La Femme Nikita, I think. Anyways, that was a long time ago. Okay, one more. It's a tiny bit religiously undertones. If heaven exists, what would you like God to say to you when you arrive at the pearly gates?
That is tough. That is throwing it.
I'm just trying to get a little bit more, get to know Travis just a little bit better.
What would I want God to say to me as soon as I get there?
Yeah. Some people have answered really quickly, and other people have taken their time.
I don't even know. Like, what would he say? Like, what would I want him to say? Like, you were a good person. You did what you could in life. You've made good choices. Like, eventually, if I can leave the world where like I've made some type of change in it, like even like as little as making somebody happy in that, like I'd at least want to know that I did make somebody happy. So like if you could tell me like who that was or that I did, like he doesn't even have to tell me who I did. It's just like you did make a change, you did make something happen, you made somebody happy, you made something better in life. That's
awesome. Perfect. Yeah, can't ask more than that, right? Cool. Right on. Those are the questions. You did
yeah,
awesome.
the last one was pretty rough. I had to think about that one for a second.
It's okay. Like, I mean, the whole point of it also is like, I mean, I've interviewed other people, and they've kind of like, it's stirred some ideas in their head. It's stirred like something that they never had thought about before. So hopefully it has stirred something in you as well. So yeah, that's the point behind it. Before we go, is there anything you want to tell the audience before we exit, before we leave?
Well, everybody that's watching, thank you so much for taking the time to watch Comic Ozzy and I chat, right, and to see me on Inside the YouTube studio.
Right on. So with that said, I'm going to say thank you very much for everybody joining, and I hope everybody has an amazing day. Travis, thank you very much for joining me for the chat. It was fantastic. Got to know you a little bit better, and that's all that matters. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye. Take care, guys. Station.